And good evening. I'm John Hutchings, Commissioner John Hutchings, and this is the public hearing for amendment to Building and Construction Code. And by way of introduction, to my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. To my right is La Bonita Bomar, the clerk of the board. And to her right is Ramiro Chavez, the county manager, and Jeremy Davis. Yeah, but what's your title?
Senior planner, sir.
Senior planner, sir. Okay, senior planner. Thank you, Jeremy. It's just the titles I have difficulty with. The purpose of today's hearing is to accept public testimony on proposed amendments to the Building and Construction Code, which is Title 14 of the Thurston County Code. There's a sign-in sheet in the back. I have one here that has a few people signed up. If you haven't signed in, go ahead and sign in, and we'll get to that in a few moments. Well, we're going to get to that now. You will have 3 minutes to speak and to testify, and I will be calling the names for those that want to testify before the commission here, or the board. And when you hear your name, please come forward and to testify. And there's a timer up here that says 3 minutes, and at the end you'll hear a little microwave ding, and that means your time's up. If you're mid-thought, go ahead and finish. And you may not give your time or secede your time to somebody else. And when testifying, please provide your name and address for the record. Yeah, and then you'll cover, La Bonita will cover the timer for us. And you're limited to 3 minutes, and you can't donate your time. I just want to reserve, and I wanted to state that this is not the time when you give public hearing or public testimony on this issue. It's not a time for us to debate and engage each other. It's just a time for the commissioners to hear what you have to say. And we'll record that, but if some people get a little bit confused, well, why didn't they answer my question? Because this is not the appropriate venue for that. So if we don't engage you, that's why. And I think that's about all I need to cover with that. So public hearing is now open. Jeremy Davis, you're going to provide a background information and written comments supplied, kind of give us the whole big brief, however brief you need to be, background on the whole thing, and then we'll talk about people coming up to testify.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good evening. Jeremy Davis with Community Planning and Economic Development. As the chair for tonight indicated, we're here to hold a public hearing on proposed amendments to Title 14 Buildings and Construction to propose changes to requirements for the benefit of citizens of Thurston County and for clarification of language and other minor clerical amendments. I do want to note that each individual chapter in Title 14 Buildings and Construction contains some of its own administrative requirements, so some of the amendments are repeated through the code series, so it looks like there's a lot more than there is in some cases. In summary, the proposed amendments will increase the size for exempt storage buildings in the rural county from 200 to 400 square feet, subject to further limits, such as 1 story, heated only for freeze protection and limited storage. I do want to note that other counties have actually expanded their exempt building size from 200 to 400 square feet. This includes Snohomish County, which goes up to 400 square feet, and they've had that in place for approximately 10 years. Snohomish County has few limits on the uses in there, but they do not allow human habitation in those buildings. Clallam County has 400 square feet for an unheated storage building with no plumbing and also doesn't allow human habitation in there. And San Juan County also allows 400 square feet. I want to note that we are keeping the size to 200 square feet. The reason for the 200 square foot size limitation, 200 square feet in the urban growth areas, and the reason for that is so that we remain consistent with the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater. Thurston County does have joint planning agreements with those 3 cities that requires us to have similar code limitations to those 3 cities. Some of the further limitations also include vehicular storage in there, and why prohibit vehicles in there. This is my understanding from the building code. I've been a supervisor over here. She's the wise one on this, and I'm not. But it's in here, my notes that have the short return walls are not adequately braced or held down. The structure can collapse during an earthquake. And vehicles are means to provide that transportation to work, and it can also be costly to replace, and we also want to ensure that residents will have access to those vehicles. And that's one of the reasons why we will have the vehicle limitation in there. It, of course, is up to the commissioners on whether or not that's maintained. So in addition to the exempt storage building size, we also will exempt exterior siding replacement, same size window and door replacement requiring no framing modifications, solar panels, replacement electric forced air heating units and electric water heaters. Gas versions of water heaters and furnaces will still require a permit. We'll also be putting out the expiration time for building permits from 180 days to 1 year. And we'll be making amendments to the fire code to include a clarification in there of the standards in there and allowing an administrative waiver for fire flow requirements where the occupancy, the current occupancy, or the proposed occupancy, I should say, is no more hazardous than the existing occupancy. And then we're proposing changes to Chapter 1438, which is development in special flood hazard areas. And these changes are necessary to retain our current Federal Emergency Management Agency Community Rating System Class 2 rating. And the amendments include clarifying the 2-foot elevation requirement is freeboard, clarifying the use of fill in the special flood hazard area to ensure consistency with other codes and FEMA requirements, and other amendments. That Class 2 rating that Thurston County has, we're one of 6 jurisdictions in the country that has that, and that provides a 40% reduction in the flood insurance cost for those property owners that do have to have that flood insurance, and a 10% reduction for those that are not. But again, we're one of 6 jurisdictions in the country to have that Class 2 designation. So we did issue a public notice in the Olympian on June 27th, 2018. Not July as indicated in the AIS. We issued a press release on June 29th, and we posted all of the draft proposed changes up on the county's website. And we did also hold a meeting with interested parties, including the Olympia Master Builders. The Olympia Master Builders did submit one of the 2 written public comments we received for today, and I've been asked to go ahead and read that into the record for you. So it's in there, and it's from Ms. Erin Hall, who's the Government Affairs Director at Olympia Master Builders, and it says, on behalf of Olympia Master Builders, I'm expressing our organization's support for the proposed amendments to the Buildings and Construction Code, Title 14. As you know, Olympia Master Builders' mission is dedicated to supporting housing affordability for all economic segments of society, and the efficacy of a jurisdiction's building code directly affects the competitiveness of builders and remodelers, which in turn informs the cost of housing. As such, we advocate for policy and code standards that reduce regulatory barriers to construction and which create a predictable, easy-to-navigate process when applying for permits. And the proposed amendments to Title 14 represent a robust and mindful step in refining Thurston County's building code to allow easier home maintenance and improvement for all the county's citizens. We applaud the efforts of the county leadership to streamline and increase accessibility in its codes, and it's our hope that Thurston County will engage in continued internal assessment of building regulations and permitting practices. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments. If you wish to correspond with us, and give us contact information. We received one other written comment by email from Mr. Jim Gaucher, which just says a note of support for the proposed building code amendments. Thanks to the commission and staff for easing the regulatory burden on county residents and making some common sense changes to the building code. With that, are there any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Was that the extent of the email, snail mail, voicemail?
Yes, sir. I received 2 written public comments.
That's it?
So.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you for that. Then we're going to go ahead and open this up. The public hearing is open July 17th, 2018, and we'll offer people a chance to come and testify. I'm going to go by list of order here, signing in. Looks like 2 people didn't, well, one didn't want to speak and another didn't leave an indication if they wanted to testify. I'll start at the top. Roland Zoller.
Me?
Yes, sir. Please come on up and state your name. Lower that down just a little bit, the microphone, and your address, sir, and then go ahead.
Sure. My name is Roland Zoller, and my address is 1609 Langridge Avenue Northwest in Olympia. And I am a county employee, but I'm here tonight as a private citizen. I'd like to offer my support for the amendments to the building code in Thurston County. I would ask that we consider a further amendment to eliminate some undue complexity from the proposed code. So what I'm talking about is the exceptions in the residential code, the projects that don't require permits. So I would propose that we use the language, where did I pass it off? Here it is. Use the following language. 1-story detached accessory structures not exceeding 200 square feet in the urban growth areas and not exceeding 400 square feet outside the urban growth areas, period. That's in more conformance with the state building code, which is a very simple statement, and the current Thurston County building code, which is also a very simple, clear statement. And I think a lot of the additional language in here is, it just adds undue complexity to the issue. We already have ways to deal with this kind of thing at the county. We've been doing it successfully for quite a while. And in fact, if we adopt this language as it's written, it would actually, I think it would criminalize a lot of buildings that are legal right now. So I'm wondering what we'd have to do to deal with that. Anyway, that's all I need to say. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's all I have to say.
Great. Well, thank you for your
Thank you.
Maybe for easy recognition, what a specific page of the code so the commissioners can actually
Yes.
pinpoint?
13.
Okay.
Yeah, page 13, sorry.
All right, thank you for your comments, sir.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is Martin Chen. How you doing, sir?
So I'm Martin.
Oh, no. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm Martin Chen. I live at 8647 Little Rock Road,
Thank you.
Southwest in Olympia, which is about 3 miles south of the Tumwater Costco. And I have had a request to have a building permit issued to me before the county for almost 4 years now. I'm trying to build a 2-car garage on my property, which is 4¼ acres. And I have been stymied in this quest because of the pocket gopher restrictions. So I acknowledge I have gophers. I've talked over extensively with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and Andy DeFobis from your office has really gone to bat for me. But when Andy leaves and I try to negotiate with Fish and Wildlife Service, it just dies. They don't answer emails, and I just have given up. So looking at this proposal sure got my interest going, because this is not the building I wanted to build, but might be a building I could live with. So the purpose of my building is to provide shelter for 2 boats. So I request that you don't have a restriction on vehicles, or at least specify that recreational vehicles and boats can be parked in there. And I just hoping if I don't need a building permit, then I will not have to deal with the Fish and Wildlife Service and avoid the whole gopher issue. So 400 square foot is barely adequate. I would like it 500, but even as proposed, it would be a great help to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, as well. And your comments, they're all being noted by staff. Now, there's 2 other folks on that signed in, but I'm going to give you a shot if you'd like to testify. And if you haven't signed in but you want to testify, please raise your hand and come on up. All right, that exhausts that list. I believe that's the date. And did I give you my other notes? Oh, where are we? Here we go. All right, any other comments from staff? Questions or anything? Questions or no? All right, then is there a motion to close the hearing?
I would so move.
All right, and I second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes and this hearing is closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there next steps, by the way?
Yes, next steps, you have a briefing scheduled on Wednesday, July 25th at 10 in the morning.
July
with,
25th, okay.
And that will give you an opportunity to
Thank you, Roland.
assess the public testimony that you receive, and whether you like to change or modify the proposed amendment before you. That will be the opportunity. And at that point, you will provide direction to staff as to how and when you would like to bring this matter for a formal resolution.
Great. Thank you very kindly. And we're now adjourned.
Thank you.